Hello there and welcome to Shuttlebay 4. This week we're talking about the classic episode, The Devil in the Dark.
Yeah. Nice one. So Devil in the Dark, one-liner for this has got to be, Kirk and co. investigate a Rocky-in monster. And there you go. That's the one-liner introduction for this one.
I love this episode. I remember it from being a kid because I cried at this one.
Did you?
Yeah, I was a kid. I cried. Thousands of kids got killed by the gangster miners because all they kept on reminding me of is gangsters.
New York with their coffee.
Yeah.
It's New York. That's the way we speak.
Forget about it. I was sat there going, should have seen you guys in gangster movies before. But I remembered this one. I remember the entire episode. And what it was as a kid, we all knew we're carbon-based. So silicon-based life form, it's like, wow, not traditional like we're used to. There's not a lot I can really say about this. A big rocky mound went round dissolving men because they killed their kids. You know, they want to kill it. You know, the usual, you're going to put two security guards in the mouth of an entrance. Oh, they're coming now. You might as well just say, it's behind you. And then swat him with a metal bar. Oh, yeah, I love it. There's not a lot I can say about this. I know someone put it in the reviews that it was one of theirs to introduce it to someone. Was it you?
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah. Did you find it's a bit strange when the Horta's coming towards people, instead of running away, they just go,
yeah. They said, well, it's fight or flight. I said, well, it's none of them. I said, well, then it's the third one. I went, what's that? Just stand there and scream.
Freeze.
Yeah, freeze. And it just reminded me of the Austin Powers one where the steamroller's coming towards it. Move!
Careful, Austin! Watch out!
You know what it is, though? It's like all of these security guys in red shirts, right? And they're all supposed to be proper hard geezers. And what do? They just stand there and then squeal.
Yeah, it's like you said, Steve. They're supposed to be rock hard. They're supposed to know everything about security. And they all die. They die all the time. It's like Dee said, the first one who died, the red shirt, he wasn't even in the lineup.
He wasn't. He's not in the beginning lineup when he keeps talking to him. Now, look, he's not even there.
Our friend's there, who's been in near enough every episode. He's there as a red shirt.
Yeah, I think Eddie Pesky's in the lineup.
Eddie Pesky?
Yeah, he's usually, he's been at a couple of the cons.
I enjoy it. There's not a lot I can say about it, really, apart from it's not very Starfleet-y at the beginning with Kirk going, kill it.
Your orders are shoot to kill.
Shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill.
And Spock going, but we'll capture it. No, we'll fucking kill it. But then it turns very Starfleet-y. Yeah. It's like, communicate with it. But as a kid, I remember when Spock said, I'm going to have to stick my hands on it. I go, you'll dissolve your hands. It's going to dissolve your hands. And it's like, no. But,
Did you not get emotional this time then? Did you not shed a little
tear?
No,
but I was giggling because I remember as a kid crying when the line, it killed thousands of the children.
Yeah.
And they're going complaining about 50 gangster miners.
One of them wearing a bright pink jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It was brilliant.
Oh, God!
Wow! It was just a blast from the past from me.
Yeah. Well, whenever we do a TOS episode, I always think of you because I know that you watched it as a kid, like, Doomsday Machine that got you into it. So I can just imagine, little, 7-year-old Jed or something watching it. How old would you have been there when you saw this first time?
Well, the first thing I saw was, Star Wars, and that's what really...
Star what?
Yeah, but you were only you were 3 or 4.
That was at the Pickies. And then when I went home, my dad realised, he's a sci-fi fan.
Yeah.
So BBC Two, it's not like it is now. I couldn't go on a streaming channel and get all. I had to get what I got. Yeah. So I got the Doomsday Machine on the BBC Two, and then I think this was either the second or third one I've seen.
Just making a note of that thing that you said. It sounded interesting. Star Wars. I'll check that out.
Okay.
Did you watch it together then?
Yes.
Yeah.
I make notes. Jed just sit and enjoys the episode for watching the episode, but I sit and make notes.
Jed makes mental notes.
Let's hear it, Dave.
It starts off that they go into the planet Janus. Rhymes with anus. Because there's these minus down there, and they're mining like hordes of treasure. There's lots and lots of precious materials on this planet, but everybody keeps getting killed. And I was like, well, I'm not surprised in them bright yellow jumpsuits. You're not exactly disguised in the dark, are you?
Hi, this workers' uniform. I get it.
But not much good when you're trying to hide from a great big rock-eating monster. I noticed when they said they were gonna, when the miner said they were gonna get him with it, we've been shooting it with this, and it looked like one of those old electric 80s razors. You know, the round-headed thing. I thought, why is he holding a razor?
Type 1 phaser.
No, I mean shot it. With this. Fascinating.
I noticed Spock said the line, and all I could hear was,
I'm not going to say.
It's life, Jim, but not as we
Not
know
as
it.
we know it, yeah.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it.
When he said that,
Oh
Dee,
my
I thought
God.
I knew you were going to note that down.
Oh, because when I heard it, I was like, yes, everyone's going to sing it. Everyone's going to sing it with me. They won't, but.
At least, no life as we know it.
So I noticed Kirk and McCoy found time for a brew during this, deadly situation. They stood there with the cups of, might have been alcohol in it, you don't know. The way McCoy was talking to Spock, I thought he was a bit tipsy at first. And then when Spock turned round and said the bit about, what do you think, Spock? And he was like, well, I don't want to say anything just at the moment because McCoy seemed, well, he took the piss out of me a little bit. He took the piss out of me, so I'm not gonna give him the satisfaction of laughing at me again.
I have already given Dr. McCoy sufficient cause for amusement.
You know what I mean? I thought, go on, Spock, just get it out there. Tell him what you think. Don't be fucking upset because McCoy got pissy with you. Tell him what you need to say. Because that really wound me up, that when he was like, I'd rather not, actually. And then when the Red Army turned up, the Red Shirt Army, I thought, yeah, we're in for some fun now. But I noticed when the first Red Shirt gets killed, I rewound it back to the lineup, and he ain't even in that lineup. When Kirk's talking to him and getting Giotto or whatever he's called to get his men organised and get down into the mine, he weren't even there. But in the second lineup, I swear to God, he's in it. Third one down, but the light doesn't hit his face.
Yeah.
So you can't really see. But I noticed his hairstyle.
Is that
I think
after he's
he's
killed?
And he'd already been killed by that point, yeah. And then when we first see Horta, I wrote down, here comes a dog in a rag rug.
I liked you as the man on the ground doing this.
Oh, yeah, it could have been a man crawling. I just thought it was a dog the way it was moving. What else was there? Oh, when Spock says they were being watched, it was like, well, how can you tell? And he's like, is it intuition? And he goes, no, we're just being watched. Like,
No.
Oh, so we're just supposed to take your word for it? Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Cheers for that, mate. Cheers. Yeah, that's great, that.
I thought he was going to point and say, no, we're being watched. And like, it's there. I can see it.
Captain, we are being watched. You sure? Intuition? No, sir. We're being watched.
And then it's like, knowing everyone died alone, they're walking in the tunnels, and Kirk goes, yeah, we'll separate. Go on, let's separate. We're going different tunnels now. You wouldn't do that because you know the creature's loose. You know it kills everybody when they're alone, but we're going to separate and find this creature by ourselves.
You take the left, I'll take the right.
But then when they're walking in the tunnels and it's found Kirk and Kirk raises his face and it backs off, you can hear Spock's voice raising and he's talking to him and he's like, Jim, kill it. And it's like, you understand the reason that Spock is saying it at that moment in time when after he's defended it and tried to keep it alive and it'd be a pity to kill it. I think it's because he realises Jim's in danger at that point.
Jim!
And he's worried about his friend, and rather than his friend get hurt, he'd rather the species be destroyed, wiped out of existence because, his mate's in trouble.
Kill it, Captain. Quickly.
But when he gets there and he talks to it and he calms it down and he finds out that it's in pain because they shot at it, and it's sad because all of its all the eggs are being destroyed. It just took ages to get to the point. It's like you understood when he was in the room and he's going, this silicon-based thing, it's life form, silicon, life form. I put two and two together before Spock even got to the point of this is its mother, they are the eggs. And then the beam McCoy down.
Dr. McCoy, this is Captain Kirk.
It's like, come and help it. And he's like, are you mad, Jim? I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer.
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer.
I noticed Ed, one of the miners, he's a gobby little prick. Gonna go in there, I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill it with a baseball bat. I just thought he was a bit of a dick. I did enjoy the episode, but I just thought it took too long to get to the point. I understood what Spock was getting at when he was going, nope, I'm not having a pistol cart, man. No, I'm not saying anything. No, I'm not you. I understand that would have given the plot away far too soon, but it just took too long for me. We were the devils in the dark.
Seriously, I like that. You mentioned something then. Oh yeah, you're about Spock when McCoy gets pissy with him. So because he's gonna say these are eggs, but he doesn't say it, right? Because he don't want to McCoy to take the piss.
But he'd already insinuated that they were life forms, but they were silicon life forms. It's life, you know what I mean?
But not as we know it.
No,
but but he it does feel that as a Vulcan who shouldn't feel embarrassed or whatever, that it should have just, logic should have prevailed.
Yeah.
And he should have given that information, because they could have, I mean, this could have been a 15, 20-minute episode then.
See, I thought exactly the same thing. He said he didn't want to do it because he didn't want McCoy to take the mickey out of him. But there were many times where it was just him and Kirk on their own when he could have mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think these are eggs. You what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be. Exactly. No, you're right. Exactly. McCoy was only in it for that brief moment.
Kirk comes out and goes, these are eggs. Yeah, I know, yeah.
They're eggs, aren't they? Yes, Captain. Eggs.
Yeah, there they are, the children.
I didn't think about that,
Any
Chris.
given time we could have said it, but no, we waited for bloody Kirk to work it out.
But I think what Chris just said, I didn't even realise until now, but it's true, because McCoy's not really in it. There's that scene where in that room together, but after that, McCoy's not in it until the end. Having a poo, did you say?
No, having a brew. They were sat there and having a brew.
Yeah.
People are dying, it's all right. Do you want a cup of love?
One of the things with watching TOS episodes is trying not to, we've mentioned this before, trying not to look at it with 2024 standards, because I was watching it and you've seen them all 100 times and you sort of forget when these were made. And the episode itself seemed a bit ludicrous to a degree, because it's like all of a sudden Spock comes to this realization that it must be a silicone-based life form. Well, what the f*** are you basing that on? Absolutely sod all. Even McCoy goes, well, it's impossible. Spock's just like, no, I think it is. And you're like, oh, okay, so we're just going to magic up a new form of life because that's what fits the theory that's in front of you. You've got no answers, so you just go with, oh, yeah, it's one of these. He did seem a little bit over obsessed with those eggs, yet he hadn't developed the ability to scan for this life form yet he seemed quite obsessed with the egg, and I don't know, it just seemed a bit weird. And like when they beamed down, there seemed to be like a little bit, I don't know if it's just me, but there was a bit of hostility between Kirk and his lot and the miners, and that wasn't explained. The Horta itself is brilliant. It's just a rug with a person underneath it shuffling along. Watching Spock do his thing where he's going, pain, pain, it just made me laugh. It was just like, so he's talking about a mind melt, yet he hasn't even laid his hands on it. Jesus Christ, Jed, man up.
I was about 6.
But yeah, it was just like, for a Vulcan to connect at this point, the only way to do it is a mind melt. How do you know where to touch the Horta? Because, well, let's face it, you could have been grabbing his junk for all we know. You no idea, there's no head. Like, even before he made contact, he walked near it. It's like, how are you receiving that already? Based on the fact that when the series came out, they hadn't really established too heavily that Vulcans have telepathic abilities as such, let alone without contact. So I thought that was a little bit.
But Steve, did you not hear the noise? When he got near it went like...
I know, it makes a really weird noise. But you know what, right? The Horta, whenever it went onto the Horta, do you know what it sounded like? You know when they're laying on the bio beds, you hear that whoom, whoom noise. The Horta sounded a bit like that. It was like, are you recycling the sound, except you just sort of slowed it down a little bit and tweaked it? Yeah, I mean, it was an all right episode for what it was back in the day, I suppose. But now, since we watched, what is it? The one where they go to where they try and get Scotty laid, Wolf in the Fold. Since we sat and we discussed that and the inappropriateness of that, I find it a lot harder to watch TOS episodes. I used to just watch them and sort of take them at face value, but now I just look at it and I think that was terrible. Yeah, it was an all right episode. It's not one that I would go back and rewatch. But then which of them are, to be fair? This is me we're talking about.
You said you loved Way of the Warrior, actually. You didn't just like it, you loved it.
No, I think you just edited it that way.
When we did our episodes to hook someone into Star Trek, this is one of the ones that I picked, but I don't think it would have worked with you, Steve.
Would any of them?
I'll quickly run through my notes. I've not done as many notes as normally do. You'll be pleased to hear, because I've only just watched it, and instead of typing them all out, because normally I type them out, then I retype them. I just stuck them in this book here, so I can at least give the reasons why I think this is strong enough to hook someone in. I'll start off with those caves that they go into. Is it just me, or is the floor of the cave like perfectly smooth?
Yeah,
It's smooth. It's smoother than my
Puddles.
walls. It looks like
You can
it's
see the
just-
lines.
You
You
can
can see the
see the
lines on the
line.
floor sometimes. Yeah.
I think it's just been
You need
reskinned.
to get a better. You need to get a better plasterer, mate.
But they were really smooth, those, and really clean as well. There were bits of debris everywhere and like some like weights for some reason. But otherwise, it was like perfectly clean floor. But the cave walls, I thought were quite beautiful. You know, like that iridescent blue.
Mhm.
I thought they looked really cool, and I did think it's very well illuminated in those caves. You'd expect it to be quite dark, but I suppose this is set quite a way in the future. Maybe they just got, you know, lights everywhere to keep it light, which makes sense if it's a workplace. This starts off as a monster story, you know, and obviously we know how it ends and everything, but it starts off as a monster story, which is quite in keeping with season one, because season one, particularly the first half of season one, and I think I've said this before, feels like it doesn't feel like sci-fi. It feels like horror, because almost all the episodes have got like this really like, just got this horror feel about them. You know, even I forgot his name now. Thingy, well, what do you call him? You know, with the eyes.
Charlie X.
Charlie X. You know, like they've all got that kind of feeling. I mean, Charlie X has got one of the spookiest scenes ever with a woman with no face. The pink jumpsuit. I've got a comment about the pink jumpsuit because that really stood out. I don't know why, but it did. Oh God! Wow! So at one stage, the guy who's head of the mine, the head, I suppose Jed had referred to him as the Don, but he says they need to find the creature because they've got a quota to hit. And I thought it felt like a bit of a criticism of, you know, capitalism, that, which I quite like. If Star Trek is space socialism, I quite like that. Or at least it was an attack on, you know, like human greed or whatever.
Just find that creature, whatever it is. I've got a quota to meet.
I like the scene where you've got Kirk, McCoy, and Spock, and they're bouncing ideas off each other. But like Dee said, Spock seems to get all shy when he realizes that McCoy's taking the piss. And his big idea about what these spheres are, he won't say because he's too embarrassed to say in case McCoy takes the piss. But I remember when I first saw this episode, I wasn't as young as Jed. I was probably a teenager. I was watching TNG. I got really into that, and I started watching a few TOS. And the minute that Spock picked up that orb, the first thing I thought was, it's an egg. Straight away, it's an egg. It's just like, it was just so obvious. So there was no real mystery around that. To me, it just felt like it was like the obvious thing for it to be. There is genuine tension in this episode as well. You know, there's this monster, because you don't see it for quite some time. I think it's towards the end of the episode that you see it. All you know is there's this monster there that seems to like melt people, or, you know, at least char them, burn them. It can create tunnels. It's killing people. You don't see it. It is genuinely scary. It's not even a carbon-based life form. It's silicon-based, so it's something that's completely unknown to us. A comment I've got here that I've already mentioned is, why does nobody run away from it? So whenever it attacks someone, they just stand there and like overact the scream rather than running away. At one stage, I can't remember who said it, but somebody says, we had our phaser set for silicon. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, the classic silicon setting.
We had a weapon set for silicon and on full power.
So Spock comes up with this theory that it might be the last one alive, and to kill it would be a crime against science. And it was at that point that this became a proper Star Trek episode, where you've got that, you know, questioning. You've got this thing that's a monster, but are we right, you know, to kill it? If it means, you know, ending, you know, that species, you know, you're kind of committing genocide by killing that one creature. And then I was quite surprised. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I kind of forgot that Kirk took the opposite angle. And he says, I'm afraid the creature must die. We've got to kill it. You know, kill it. The minute you see it, kill it. And that took me by surprise, because I couldn't remember that. I couldn't remember Spock taking that stance. And there was a real Spock versus Kirk moment in this, you know, capture versus kill. And you've even got that bit where Spock says to the red shirts or whatever, he says, oh, and if you see it and you're able to capture it, you know, try and capture it. And Kirk turns around and says, whoa, what are you on about? Because I can't remember giving an order to capture it, you know, kill on sight.
Mr. Spock? Captured. I don't recall giving any such order. The creature will be killed on sight, and that's the end of it.
And as a result of Spock kind of ignoring Kirk's orders, Kirk, in a way, demotes him. He basically says, right, you can fuck off then. Right, you go and work with Scotty and work on that. And Spock's like, well, he doesn't need me there. That's not where my skills are at. And he's like, no, because he went against his orders, Kirk gets a bit pissy. So Spock really is the victim of two pissy people in this, McCoy and Kirk.
Mr. Spock, I want you to assist Scotty in maintaining that makeshift circulating pump.
I beg your pardon, sir.
You heard me.
Dee mentioned the fact that Spock starts to panic a bit when he thinks that Kirk's in danger. And I completely saw that as well. And it almost came across as though Spock's got feelings for Kirk. It almost came across as quite romantic. Because he goes, Captain, are you all right?
Captain.
Are you all right?
And then there's the ceiling collapses and he can hear something and Kirk doesn't react. And then he doesn't say Captain anymore because all the way throughout that it's Captain. Yeah, then it's like Jim, no. And he's like, I'm on my way, Jim. I'll get there as soon as I can.
Jim, I could phaser you out. I shall quicken my pace.
He just switches them, and I do like that because this is season 1, so you don't have this really close friendship between Spock and Kirk and McCoy. They haven't. It's still forging, even though this is towards the end of season 1. But you can really tell at this point that Kirk means a lot to Spock.
I absolutely love that. I'll touch on that in my bit, but I absolutely love that even this early on.
Yeah.
Even though they haven't got on and there's been this disagreement, his mate's in trouble and he kind of, the stripes come off and he's just trying to help his mate at that point. I get that. Yeah. I love that, Dan.
And the fact that they'd had some tension before it and Kirk had even, like you say, kind of given him a pseudo demotion makes this moment even stronger because really Spock should be feeling pissed off at Kirk, angry with him, but all that goes when he thinks he's in danger and he stops being his captain. Like you say, the stripes come off and he's his friend, or lover. That's all I'm saying. But it's like Jim.
No, his friend, Dan, his friend. All right.
No. Don't go down that road.
I'm just going to write a bit of fan fiction where Kirk's stroking Spock's ears. Right, so
there's plenty of fan fiction like that out there.
Kirk does not give Spock umox. All right.
Right, I've lost my page now. I've done that. I haven't got that many notes. Jim, kill it. Oh yeah, and at that point, right, just to prove the fact that Spock really feels quite fond of Kirk, is like, kill it, Jim, kill it. I'm surprised Kirk didn't go, hang on a minute ago, you wanted to keep it alive.
Kill it, Captain. Quickly. You don't dare take the chance, Captain.
That just made me laugh. How Spock completely reverses this thing. Spock's got this big thing of, let's capture it, we can't kill it. If we kill it, we could be ending this entire species. And then all of a sudden it's like, let's kill it, Jim, kill it. There's a lot of eyebrow acting in this episode. Leonard Nimoy does it and DeForest Kelly does it. And it's one of those classic Star Trek tropes that you don't really get in later series, but Spock and McCoy do a lot of eyebrow acting, and it always makes me laugh. Dee's already mentioned the classic line, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. And I don't want to spoil any oh my moments that Brush might have, but I believe this is the first time in Star Trek that we get a I'm a doctor, not a line, which surprises me because this is quite late on in the series. And in my mind, McCoy does it. Well, he does it quite a few times. So I just assumed he'd done it before this point. But I think this was the first time that we heard that.
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer.
Jed cried during this episode when he was 6 years old, right? And I'm not going to take the piss because my comment here is, you probably can't see it, but I've got so sad. And it is genuinely sad because you've got this, it's when Spock says it's in agony.
It's in agony.
It's not just, oh, it's feeling a bit down or it's in pain. It's in agony. And it's physical agony and it's mental agony. It's eggs, it's children. It even says, isn't it, thousands of children are being killed or whatever.
You've killed thousands of our children.
Its kids have been killed. It's been phasered and a chunk of it's come off, so it's in pain. It even says at one stage when it starts to get like really manic depressive, it says the murderers have won, and it basically says let me die. And it reminds me of that scene from The Fly, with Jeff Goldblum, where he basically wants to be shot and he holds the gun to his head and is like, kill me now.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Yeah.
I thought it was so sad. It didn't make me cry, Jed, but I think if I'd have been 6 years old, I probably would have cried at that.
Let it end. Here.
Another great line in this is when McCoy says, "By golly, Jim, I'm beginning to think I can cure a rainy day."
My golly, Jim, I'm beginning to think I can cure a rainy day.
I just thought that was a great line.
Love that line.
And then basically, I'm at the end of the episode now. So at the end of the episode, there's loads of humor at the end of the episode. Okay, you've got a little dig at humanity from Spock. He has a couple of little digs at humanity that make me laugh. And then you get this exchange between Spock, Kirk, and McCoy, and it's genuinely funny. Honestly, I laughed out loud at it. Where I can't even remember what the lines are now, but Jim says something like, "Oh, you're growing more human by the day," and Spock basically turns around and says, "Well, there's no need to insult me." And it's just a great moment between them three.
I suspect you're becoming more and more human all the time.
Captain, I see no reason to stand here and be insulted.
I have got a couple of omines, but I'm going to leave them because I think somebody else might mention them, and if they do, then fair dues.
Get in now, Dan, before brush you.
I know. Well, I've already kind of got one in with the.
Yeah, go on, do go on.
All right then. So the Horta costume came before this episode, so I can't remember the name of the guy. I'll have to flash it on screen. He went to. I'm not sure if it was Gene Elkuna or if he went to Gene Roddenberry. It was one of the top brass anyway. Oh, is it Gene Coon? I'll say Brush did know this one. And he basically he said, "Look, I've made this costume," and he says, "Well, what is it for?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know. I just made it." And so he wrote the episode so he could use the costume.
Well, what I read was he actually, because he was able to wear it, so he showed him and then went, "Look, this is what it does." And he put what did he do? He put like a stuffed chicken down on the floor, crawled over it, but then once he'd crawled over it, the end result was some bones left at the end. And so Gene Elcombe was like, "Right, got to use this. I've got to do something for this."
Yeah, and then they came up with that episode. But the reason, and I'm not going to go into this because I mentioned it before in the previous episode, but the reason why I picked this as an episode to hook somebody in is because this, to me, feels like classic Trek. So it's set up like a horror film, which a lot of the first season of Trek is. And then you get that moment where you question stuff. So you've got this monster that's killing people, but it's not really a monster. Dee said it best when she says, we are the devils in the dark. We're the one who's killing its eggs. I'm not sure if Dee got that from this episode because I can't remember that line or whether she came up with it herself. I'm hoping she came up with it herself because it's a great line. All of a sudden, you question what this creature is. You've got this Bayan mob, like something from the old, Dracula films, with pitchforks, and they want to, bash it to death. At the end, it wasn't a monster whatsoever. It was just a misunderstood creature who actually thought that we were the hideous ones, because like Dee says, we were the monsters in the end. And that's why I picked this episode as an introductory one for somebody, because I just feel like it introduces that kind of concept. And if somebody watches this episode and likes that, then they should fly through the rest of Star Trek. And that's me done, apart from one last thing, which is, I don't know if anybody noticed it, but there's one thing missing from this episode.
Is it Uhura?
It kind of is a horror, but that's not what I'm looking for.
It's any female.
We don't get the lineup on the bridge.
Female speaking parts.
Yeah, Brush has got it. There's only one female appears in this episode, and there are no female speaking parts. This
It's
episode
the only
is
time
basically.
it happens. It's the only time it ever happens as well.
Is it the only time?
Because they had a letter off the company afterwards to say, you do realise that there's women and they're supposed to be equals, and they don't talk. So
yeah, but yeah, complete sausage fest. This one.
I don't know what it is about this episode, but there is no. Oh my! There is no. There isn't really a lot of bridge shot going on here. I don't know if they were doing something with the set, but we don't get that. That situation with Sulu, with Chekhov, with Uhura. We don't get that whole bridge. There's not a lot of bridge shooting on this.
There was only one. There was one scene that was designed to be on the Enterprise, and they switched it so it was in the office, and that was because during filming of this, William Shatner's dad died.
Yeah.
And so they tried to speed up the production of it. So rather than changing set and having to do that, they kind of kept it on the set they were already on. So
yeah.
That might be a reason.
I have read that this was under threat, this episode. They thought it might just got shut down, because of Shatner's dad dying. But
well, they did say to him, like, well, don't worry about it. And he said, no, I'll do this. And they said he worked the whole day filming, then went and got a plane. And only then was it the cast and crew realised what had happened. None of them knew during the day.
So were there any shots on the Enterprise during this episode? Because I can't recall any.
I don't think there is. I think
there are some there, because there's the bridge at the end. You've got the bridge shot when they're on.
Yeah,
the bridge scene.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It is like, I'll do one more then because it's relevant. It's the It's the only episode that begins without the Enterprise. So this episode begins and it's not on the Enterprise shot, isn't it? And it's the only episode of TOS that happened.
All right. That's interesting, yeah. And like I said, I didn't even notice that.
How did you forget about the bridge shot when you said you only just watched it?
Yeah. And it was one of his favourite scenes.
Yeah. And one of the episodes he would introduce others to.
I'm just shit. I'm just shit.
Mate, it's like you don't even like Star Trek. What are you playing at?
I'm just pretending.
Can you all hear me for first? Because I can't see any of you. I think I've been having some technical difficulties.
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
I've realised I'm a bit like Goldilocks. I don't like the newer tracks. I like the Discovery, but I also don't like the. I'm recently discovering I don't really like the older tracks either. So unless it's perfect in the middle, I'm not happy, which is not ideal. What have I got? Bad props. The props are horrendous. I forgot how bad the props are in TOS. They're so bad. Everything is so smooth and like made out of early 60s sheet wood where you can still see the screws. Yeah, it's horrendous. Life, but not perhaps as we know it. I thought that was quite a nice little thing.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it.
So that's interesting. Are you joking?
What? We can hear you.
Has it been me out? Did anybody hear?
No, we can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you, John Joe.
Oh, okay. Perfect. No, wait, I thought that was... reactor fuel, but it doesn't name it, which I thought was interesting. Or did it name it? Did anyone catch that?
No, I don't name it.
I thought it was very reminiscent of a TNG episode.
Yeah, I did as well. Yeah,
the one where
home soil.
John Joe, are you accusing this episode of ripping off TNG?
It is exactly the same premise.
No, not quite.
Exactly the same premise.
The more I watch of TOS, the more I'm thinking TNG ripped off quite a lot of episodes. Red shirts are so red. I couldn't get over how red they were. I was watching the remastered though, so that might be why. I'm sorry if I missed this when other people were talking about it, but attack the life form straight away, even though they knew it was a life form, an intelligent life form. After it stole the reactor part, they were like, kill it anyway. We need the fuel. The eggs. From the moment I saw it on his desk, I knew it was an egg. I've put here roll eyes. What annoyed me is they thought no one thought during this entire time until Spock did it to put the tricorder in silicon mode, even though they were in a silicon mine. One thing I did love, I've got a really big glove that next to it, is the when Kirk kneels down at the side of the dead body or the mess, it plays the Star Trek theme but in like a sad melody. I really like that. Not sad, it's like a tense melody. I really enjoy it when they play with the melody like that to fit. I think it's fantastic. The tunnels that were clearly made of sheet wood which are screwed together, that was interesting, that were smoother than my plaster. It was made from when they picked the creature up towards the end. They said asbestos. It's an asbestos mineral.
Yeah,
Closest approximation I could come to would be fibrous asbestos.
It's a sign of the times, I think.
Breaking up and inhaling it. It's asbestos.
Spock was like super critical. I was quite impressed. That is an accurate term.
The reactor will go supercritical.
It is for a fission reactor though, not a fusion, so it doesn't really fit in with Star Trek again. But still, it's setting up that basis that I love with Star Trek. It's one of the reasons I became an engineer at the end of the day. Is some of the engineering. I am disappointed to find out that I used when I used to be on the tours, I got covered in oil though. You don't see that deal on Star Trek. Mind meld, was this the first one?
I don't know, but didn't call it mind meld, did they?
No, they called it a joining of mind.
Yeah, and the way
I
he said
thought
it
it
to
before,
Kirk,
but
yeah, I assumed it definitely before. But then again, I also thought that McCoy said I'm a doctor, not a before.
The first episode to feature a mind meld was actually Dagger of the Mind.
The mind meld, Jesus, what terrible acting. Just scream, I'm in pain, I'm in pain.
Pain! Pain!
Pain. Just waves of pain. And then he says, waves of pain, waves of pain. That's all I got, Jim. That's all I got. Waves of pain. And then not 10 seconds later, he's then saying, oh, I know its name. I know what creature it is. I know why you're here. And you're like, hang on a minute. You just said all you got was waves of pain. Make your mind up.
Oh, and I've taught it how to write.
Yes.
In English as well. Perfect English.
No kill eye.
And I was like, it's good that they come to an agreement, but now are they not technically slaves?
Who, the gangster miners?
The bugs?
What, the Horta?
Nah, they're helping out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Symbiotic.
Yeah,
They live there. They're just
No, they
making
haven't.
the tunnels, innit? They're doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, slaves don't get anything out of it. Slaves just get their life perpetuated for more slavery. Oh no, they get to maintain their habitat and procreate. Slaves don't even have that much right.
What happens when they eat all the rocks? That's what I was thinking. If they've been there for like thousands of years,
but they die out for 50,000 years and it just leaves one.
Oh, maybe that's why then. Maybe that's a good explanation to let more rocks form. There you go. Cheers, Jed. Solved it.
Yeah, that's good law. There you go. World building. Jed solved it. The last point I've got is throughout the entire episode, they says silicone, not silicon. Silicone is a man-made like adhesive and sealant, as everybody knows. So, what are they playing at there? Like they got so much right in that episode, and then they didn't think to,
Silicon nodule.
Pure silicon.
Silicon, based on silicon. Silicon-based
Silicon. Silicon-based nodules of silicon. Silicon. Silicon-based. Silicon.
Silicon nodules.
Silicon-based.
Silicon nodules. Silicon nodules that you
Mostly silicon.
I'd be interested if, I've seen some life forms on my bathroom silicone.
Well, they weren't really.
Is it American?
Do we fixing that?
They were.
Is it American accent?
No.
I thought they said silicon. I thought they said silicon.
Well, they weren't mining for silicon.
Maybe it's.
It was dilithium as well they were getting from there. They was getting all sorts of stuff.
Gold, platinum, something beginning with a P. Palladium or something, they were saying. That's the main thing they were mining for, wasn't it? So they were ignoring the silicon because they had them silicon eggs and they said, oh, they're nothing. They're just like decorative balls we're using.
There are a million of them down there, no commercial value.
When he went to grab it and he grabbed it on the pulsating thing, I was like, it's either its head or something else. It's a 50-50, isn't it? I won't descend into chaos yet, Dan. Don't worry.
No, it would have been funny if it just jizzed in
I was
his
going to say,
face.
toss episodes. I'm not a great lover of toss episodes. The only toss episode I've actually enjoyed so far.
Which one? John Joe, are you there? You cut out them. You said, "Oh, the only TOS episode you've enjoyed," and then you went dead. Like, well, what is it? Which is the one you've enjoyed?
Yeah, don't leave us hanging.
Yeah. So the only TOS episode I've really enjoyed has been the Romulan incident. I think that's good.
Yeah.
I really had a fiver on the fact that he was going to say
tactics and the shit combat in that.
You say what?
It's definitely not that.
Brain.
Are you sure, John Joe?
I wasn't a fan of this episode, but it was good to sort of see some Federation stuff coming through. Trek sort of finding its feet.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't kill it in the end. That's when it became a Star Trek episode for me, I suppose. But yeah,
cheers.
I give it a 4 out of 10 on Star Trek episodes.
So I'm a big fan of season 1 of the original series. I love them all. I think they're really good episodes, and I knew this episode was coming up. I knew what it was. I really do enjoy it. There's some great lines in there. I mean, you've covered the classic lines, but the line that I always loved was, "I think I can cure a rainy day."
I'm beginning to think I can cure a rainy day.
It was. I don't know if you remember back in the day when they bought the VHSs out. There was a little clips of all the TV series of Star Trek, and that was one of the lines in the actual promo. And I always just love that. I just love that. I love the set. You know what? It is cheesy, but I grew up on 60s sci-fi, so, Land of the Giants, all that kind of stuff. So the sets never bothered me. I love it. You could tell the flooring was a studio floor, but I can literally look past that. I hadn't seen the episode since they've done it up. So that was quite interesting to see the new special effects, well, limited special effects. So they look quite nice. But yeah, the premise, I do enjoy it. I can forgive the pain acting. It's just
pain.
It's really interesting in that pain footage. So you're saying that special effects that we watched were added,
like the plan at the beginning of the exterior shot of the facility. That was new.
Yeah.
Oh, what about the tunnels? Because there's no way to do that in modelling.
What do you mean?
That's new. That's new.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That was one of my notes, but I was so busy trying to punch my router that I forgot about it. Yeah, it's really interesting.
I do love the reuse of the sound effect, the boom, 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 boom. Obviously, the same one for the Doctor's thing. But yeah, I mean, you've covered a lot of the fantastic comments I've made before. I'm such a fond memories of the original series, the first season. It's just I can't fault any of the episodes. I'm literally watching the next episode right now in the background.
Yes, go on, Penfold.
I mean,
Go on.
that episode, the next one is a brilliant episode. So yeah, I mean, I know I'm easily pleased, but for me, the original series, I can't fault its faults. The faults make it what it is, and I love it.
Lovely.
Just out of interest, John.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular apart from obviously like the science stuff that maybe like silicone and all that jazz? Is there anything visually that you struggle with this? Because I must admit, when I very first started watching it, I wasn't a big fan of the visuals because it just looks in, and you get a lot of it in TNG season 1 as well, where the backdrops are clearly just a purple light. But now I actually do quite like that. I find it quite retro cool. Whereas as a kid, it put me off.
Yeah.
Dated.
I mean,
I'm almost the same. It really put me off, and it's still putting me off. Toss, because I'm still not the greatest fan of TNG season 1 and the purple planets, etc. But I think I just need to grin and bear it, because although I said I wasn't the greatest fan of the episode, it was still an episode of Star Trek that I've not seen before, and that's a rare thing these days. So
yeah.
I mean, and they almost said proper Star Trek, and they're all proper Star Trek, but of the specific era that I like.
So, some people have been quite unfair. I'm with Penfold, so we didn't
when you say some people, do you mean John Joe? Yeah.
No, well, I'm gonna critique. I heard what Steve had to say, and I wasn't surprised. But we didn't have any fancy TV channels here, so I had to watch what was on the 4 channels. And like Penfold, it was a lot of, for the kids element, there was Captain Scarlet and all of that kind of stuff, Thunderbirds. But for the grown-up stuff, and I keep saying it, it was the $6 Million Man. It was the Invaders. It was Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. It was Planet of the Apes. It was Land of the Giants. It was all of that tacky shit. But that's what we had. And I think if we're going to critique this episode, we need to be fair. And we need to look at the peers of the time and what was going on TV at the time. And to try and bring this and critique it from today's standards, it's not going to stand up. But for its time, and let's face it, this is a cult sci-fi thing, and we're a cult sci-fi group. So let's give it its due and realise, I think I'll go into my critique of the episode. I got a lot of Alien and Aliens from this. I got a massive amount of what Ridley Scott was doing, and later James Cameron was doing, was using elements of what we saw here, done better, but later on, with a bit more suspense, a bit more budget, a bit of a higher rate, maybe an 18 movie and all of that kind of stuff. But we've got, at the beginning, an unseen monster tracking and doing people in, and we don't see it until later on. And to be honest, if you look at Ridley Scott's Alien, this was the genesis of that kind of story, I think. And it is quite cerebral, and you have to buy into it. But I got a lot of later sci-fi and what became, landmark sci-fi movies, monster movies as well. For a 45-minute, low-budget sci-fi show, the fact that we're even talking about it now is a testament to it is quality stuff. I mean, it opened great. This episode opened differently to every other episode. We don't see anyone in Starfleet for quite some time. We don't get that set-up shot of Captain's log and all of that. We don't get that in this. We just cut straight into this team of like gangsters, basically, with a gangster accent, and their problem and their issue. And someone says, "Is the Enterprise really coming?" And again, that sets up the universe. Like the flagship's coming. The boys are coming to deal with this because we're getting taken out.
Is it true the Enterprise is on its way?
I love that. I love the way it starts. Yeah,
I really enjoyed that as well. I thought that was really, really good way to open an episode. Start somewhere different, because immediately I was like, "Oh, that's not the Enterprise. What's going on?"
We get a load of blokes just freaking out, basically, and it sets the universe up like the Enterprise is coming. Is it really coming, boss? And
you're going to be dead.
It is formulaic. Looking at the whole episode, as Dan said, it starts off with this monster thing. It turns out in pure Star Trek fashion, it was all a misunderstanding. There was no evil and malice. It's not pure murder. It is self-defense. We are the villains. If we work together, and understand each other, we can get on a little better. That's the overriding Star Trek theme, the message, the moral of the story. It's really well done here. So for that premise, I can see why Dan picked it for his 5 to hook someone in. Because if you can buy into that, if you can see the message and sit through the shit effects, then even today, you'll get something from it. I mean, talking about the effects, the creature is okay. So they don't really show you a lot of the creature. And later on, you can tell it's a bloke in a silk suit crawling around and doing that, a little bit forward, but they don't do too much with it. And I appreciate the fact that they...
2 blocks on the floor.
Yeah, but they don't try. They don't have it crawling up walls. They don't have it jumping around or anything like that. And it helped me buy into it a little bit. All right, it's a flump that can just do that. Yeah, it can move through rocks, but it's not designed to move around here. And I did because they didn't do too much with it, it helped me to buy into it. The creature is okay. It looked weird. It moves weird. I can see why they used it. Everybody got a chance to do their thing in this episode. Spock got a chance to be like uber Spock, and he showed emotion. And, pain and all of that kind of stuff.
Pain!
McCoy got a chance to do his I'm not a doctor, I'm a bricklayer, and he got a chance to heal something.
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer.
Kirk got a chance to override people, send red shirts to their death. And everyone got a chance to do their thing. And the big 3 really comes out for me in this episode. When they beam down together, like, thinking about it, if that's going on that planet, why would you take the Doctor? Why? It wouldn't happen in the Next Gen, but it's the big 3. I'm taking my mates. That's what Kirk said. I'm taking my mates. When they beam in to the episode, you're like, yes, here we go. And I got my Trek tingle. Yeah. The no kill eye bit, I've heard some people slating that. It knew how to do it because of the mind meld, I think. It's established later on that when you do mind meld, a little piece of yourself ends up in that person forever.
I think Spock just say that as well. I think I'm sure Spock kind of explains that away.
Yeah, he does.
Evidently, it gained an immediate knowledge of us from its empathy with me.
It's already been covered with the Spock Jim dynamic, and when Kirk was in danger, it was just bollocks, kill it. My friend's not going to die, just kill it. And he genuinely becomes concerned that his friend is in trouble, and he's like, I don't care about science, I don't care about the crime against science, my friend's in trouble, kill it immediately. And that's, if you take that context, you can see why the plot kind of jumps a little bit.
I think that really adds to it, though. That was one of my favourite moments, seeing seeing Spock's guard drop. Because you need to remember, Spock is an emotional being. He's just pushing it right down. And the minute he thinks that Jim's in danger, because he ceases to be the captain then, is Jim. Yeah. Because I like I said, I wrote it down. I can't remember. He says, oh, yes. He says, Captain, you all right? And then I think you hear the sound of like rocks falling. And then he goes, Jim.
The last thing that I really like about this episode is the end of episode banter that you get.
Love that.
When so I see no reason to be insulted, and then you get that French horn, walk factor 2, let's go, and you get that little giggly bit at the end. I love that. You could sit here and you could pan the effects, and you could pan the pace, and you could really do some damage and pick it apart. So if you watch it, you're not going to get anything out of it, but weakness. But really,
I can't see anyone being able to pick this apart.
No, you can't, and you can't. I can't. I don't think Penfold can. It depends on what light you see it, and you have to see it at the time it was made and see past certain bits. But you can't say, this is rubbish compared to TNG, because that's literally decades later. This has got a lot of elements in it that are quite good. They don't overdo the monster. They don't overdo the drama too much. The guys freeze, but they're just trying to create a bit of suspense. And also, it is a kind of family-friendly thing, so we're not going to see people getting ripped apart here.
Yeah. To put it into context, when this episode aired, it will be another 2 years and 4 months before we landed on the moon. When this episode, you know what I mean? So we think about it this way, and that kind of blows my mind a bit. You watch a lot of this sci-fi, we've not even landed on the moon at this stage. Who's next?
Some really good points there, Patches. Some really good points. People's comments have made me, think of this in a bit more of a light, and I might actually go back and watch this with a bit more of a stop looking at the shitty walls and focus more on the story.
Yeah, you also need to remember that back in the 1960s, in fact, not even just the
TV was
60s, but not that long ago, TV resolution was about 7 times less than it is now. So you wouldn't have seen all that.
Right, so Chris, Devil in the Dark. Let's have your take.
Okay, then.
Edit point.
Right, so at the beginning of the episode, obviously people are dying. They said we've lost 50 people already. And the guy in charge, someone or other, I wasn't really paying attention. But he turned around and he said, well, unfortunately, we need guards. Why? Why do you need guards? What exactly are they protecting? Grab your troops, get them back to safety, everybody, and wait for the Enterprise to turn up. It's already on its way. They know that. What the hell are they protecting?
Unfortunately, Chris, they got quotas to fill.
Well, they're not going to fill quotas with 50 men down and potentially more.
The reactor.
Yeah, the reactor, wasn't it? It's going to go super nuclear or whatever it was.
Meltdown.
Obviously, it's been said already. Spock withheld information. He could have said there was 2 people that died because he didn't speak up. He could have spared those 2. That blood is on his hands, him and his ears. Dickhead. Right. So when the security detail from the Enterprise beamed down, Kirk gave him the pep talk, and he said, "We've already lost 50 men." That's not exactly true. They actually lost 52.
And remember this, 50 people have died. I want no more deaths.
Because when Sam said it, we've lost 50 men already.
It's already killed 50 people.
2 other people died, 52. By the time the security team got beamed down. What is it? What's the matter with it? The man in charge can't do simple math. Dickhead.
I think he was trying not to scare them. Yeah, that smells like burning body. What's that? Nothing. Get in there.
When Kirk said, Mr. Spock, I'm terribly sorry, but the creature must die. In my head, I'm thinking, don't worry, Spock. You'll get your own back in a couple of episodes by saying Edith Keeler must die, and we'll see how he likes it.
Oh, dear.
When Spock was talking about those odds, he said, the 2 of us dying with all these people down here are approximately blah, 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 blah. During the whole speech of that, the Roadrunner music was back. Go on.
I didn't notice it. I also thought those odds were ridiculous. And Spock makes it sound as though, well, the odds of us both dying are like 2,000 whatever to 1, 0.7 or whatever it is to 1. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. We've literally just seen people die. You don't know where it is. It can burn through walls, and I thought they were ridiculous odds.
Is that normal for TOS and Spock? Sorry to interrupt there.
No,
is that normal? I thought is
like,
that where they got data from?
It was more like Crichton. I think it's to show that he's really super intelligent, and I think it was kind of like, especially in the 60s, he's almost like a robot, Yeah. But it just didn't really seem to work.
Yeah, numbers, lots of numbers. They love that, the geeks. Yeah.
The Vulcan mind meld. Now, I have never ever been a fan of the Vulcan mind meld. What a load of horse shit. Right? When he's there going, pain, pain, I was like, yes, mate, I'm feeling it as well as it goes. And then what was that stupid voice to mimic the monster?
Oh, dear, tomorrow.
Because the monster's there, and obviously Spock's kneeling down. He's probably kneeling on the monster's nutsack. Oh!
No, I'm with Jed. And at the end of that scene, I was like, and the Academy Award goes to. I thought that was blinding.
I was more the other way around. And the Academy Award giving back to it. When they phasered that little bit off of the monster, and you got Spock holding it up, and there's a little bit of it that's pulsating.
Yeah.
While Spock's talking, you can see his arm doing this. He's holding the thing.
I was thinking, is that Leonard Nimoy or is it Shatner who's got? Because you couldn't see that. I was like, which one? Because clearly one of them's just doing that.
I've got a funny feeling where they were switching shots.
It was different
when
people.
Nimoy wasn't in the shot, Shatner was doing it, and then when Shatner was in the shot, Nimoy was doing it. And when he says, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. And Kirk says, well, look, there's your patient. What he should have done at that point, he should have gone, well, it's going to be expensive. Materials, labour in. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, that's £100 just for me to take a look at it, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he said, by golly, Jim, I'm beginning to think I can cure a rainy day. Start with bloody England, will you? Because it pisses down. The way the episode ended, they forge a relationship, a friendship, an understanding. And that's pretty much exactly how the episode ends. And it's abrupt and it makes me want to see more. And I wish this had a second visit to that planet.
Yeah.
Is it? We have not had Brush yet, have we?
Well, I didn't watch the episode.
You didn't watch the episode?
No.
Hey, boss, what are we doing here, boss? Don't worry. Forget about it.